Hey folks, welcome to Tools 101 with DM General. As you see, today's topic, pliers and wrenches. Now, before we get into this, make sure that you're always being safe. Doesn't matter on what it is that you're doing, doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter what you're wearing. The most important thing is any of those things being safe. What you're wearing is a big deal. As you see, I got this apron on. This is a form of what is called PPE. PPE also stands for personal protective equipment. That could be your hard hat, safety glasses, earplugs, face mask, gloves, clothing, usually long clothing depending on the type of work, pants or shorts depending on the type of work, and safety-toed shoes depending on the type of work. Always make sure that no matter what it is, you're always being safe and you're wearing the proper PPE for whatever the task is. Now, let's get into this. Pliers and wrenches differ. I have heard people in multiple cases use the names synonymously as if they were the same thing, kind of like envy and jealousy, but they're actually very different, just like envy and jealousy. Pliers are for manipulating items or material using a clamping, a gripping, a twisting, a cutting, a crimping motion, and it relies heavily on your grip. Okay, most pliers, as far as I've seen, most pliers rely heavily on your grip. So if you're not holding the plier properly or with enough force, it's not going to do exactly what you need it to do. Wrenches, on the other hand, for the most part, from what I've seen, eliminate the need for your grip to be that important. But it doesn't mean that you should not have a grip. Why? Because what wrenches do is that wrenches give you the ability to focus more on applying torque. So, for example, if you got a lug nut you got to take off on your car, well, the last thing you want to do is be using a plier to grip around the nut and then trying to twist it. Okay? That's not going to work for you. You want to have something that eliminates that factor. And that's where wrenches come in. Now, looking at it, the reason why, if any of you heard it before, that where someone will say, "Can I get a pair of pliers?" is because back in the day, pliers actually used to be two-handed tools for various purposes. Now we're able to have them single-handed and all that kind of stuff, but that's just something for you to know. Fun fact. Let's go into this. Pliers. These pliers right here are known as tongue and groove pliers. We usually call them channel locks. Why? Because of the name brand, kind of like Coke for Coca-Cola. We call them channel locks, but really they're not channel locks. They're tongue and groove pliers. You usually, when you buy these, they come in a set of two. You can buy them singular, but you also see them in a set of two. These work great when you're gripping certain items. Why they call tongue and grooves? Because literally in the jaw itself, in the right above the jaw as part of the head, it literally has grooves in the head. So that way you can adjust to different size material that you're working on. I would say this, please remember, this is not a hammer. So do not use this hammering on every single thing you see. These can break and it can hurt you if it breaks the wrong way, especially. Granted, you don't want it to break. So please do not use this as a hammer. This is not a hammer. I'm saying it now. Next one up, this slip joint plier. Similar to the tongue and groove plier, it literally has one area where it can adjust, but it doesn't have tongues and grooves. It literally has just an additional opening in the handle here. So that way the rivet in the joint can move over for larger items. So if let's just say you have a larger item that this could reach, well, now it can go around the item. Smaller, no problem. This works great compared to the channel lock, where if you need to go directly to whatever it is you need to grab, this is your friend because you do not need to worry about adjusting like the channel lock where you need to adjust in order to get it straight. This one you can just go straight in, okay? So that's where this works amazing. These have teeth, all right? Majority of the times you'll see pliers with teeth. They do have smooth pliers as well. They also have pliers that are made out of softer materials, so that way you are unable to either cause damage to something or become a victim of electrocution. So They do make all sorts of different types. This one right here is a regular slip joint plier. And there's another one that works just like this. It has the opening right here for either cylindrical or square shaped items. Um, it works like this, but looks like this. This guy right here is not the one that I'm describing. This is a lineman plier. But the one that I was saying that looks like this is called a combination plier. It works similar to this where it has an opening, but it's shaped like a lineman plier. The thing that separates a lineman plier from a combination plier is a lineman plier mainly has a cutter in the head. It also has a crimper as well for certain types of connectors that are needed for electrical. So this would be your friend when you're getting into that type of work. Okay. Next one up, needle nose pliers. A lot of times you see these for well, not electrical, but electronic guys, electronic type of work. You see guys who are working on small electrical things that need to be able to, you need to get down into something that's really small to try and grab something. This is your guy. Now, I'm not saying this is the only use for it. I've just mainly seen them used that way, mainly for electronics and electrical things. These also come with cutters, so that way you can cut things like wires and other softer material. These are not snips though, but they can cut things like wires or even like tie wraps that are like same similar to the type that are used for like your bread that you buy from the supermarket. Well, sometimes those are used in certain other applications. You can use these to cut things like that, small wiring, things like that. This guy right here are wire strippers. Now, some manufacturers have learned to make some wire strippers combination type pliers. Just make sure you remember that wire strippers are not for massive amount of manipulating objects. Like that, like I said, these are wire strippers. They're mainly used for working on wires. Wires are usually softer than this guy. When you start getting into some of the bigger wires, you're gonna need something different than this. But for your smaller wires, this is your friend. This also has the ability to cut 632 and 832 screws. This also helps you understand when you look at some strippers, they also direct you on how to use them so that way you can strip the right type of wire. Some wires are solid, some wires are stranded. Stranded wire is like think of hair, a bundle of hair is like stranded wire. Solid wire, think of a metal or a concrete pole. It's just solid. That's it. That's similar to the way they work. And these help you strip off the jackets outside of those wires using the right side. They tell you. So make sure you follow the manufacturer's instructions when it comes to using these. Next one. These got a controversial nickname that we've used for a long time in the trades. These are diagonal cutters, and the nickname that we've called these were dikes for short because diagonal cutters. And these are great for cutting things like wiring and smaller, softer metals that can fit within the jaws. They can also cut other materials, but I would encourage you to remember that these are not, number one, these are not hammers, and number two, these are not shears. It's not as sharp as, let's just say, shears or scissors. So these use more so like a compression to cut. I've mainly seen these with electricians because that's usually where I work. I usually did a lot of work. So these would be your friend. These look just like your regular dikes, but these are more so for cutting metals like fencing. These are the metal for these are is more refined. It's tougher and it's stronger than your regular diagonal cutters. Now, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't have your regular diagonal cutters. These are expensive. So if you're not getting into fencing or any special type of work, do not buy these. Stick with your regular diagonal cutters. These guys right here are cable cutters. Okay. Like it says, cutting cable. It also has an ability to not strip, but score along the outside of cables on this side, inside of the handle. You can use it for that purpose. These are great for using your above average size cables that you would see in your regular home. Something that probably would be too big for your dikes, but small enough to fit in here. The roundness of the head makes it easy to go around the cable and cut evenly into the cable in order to ensure that you do not compromise the shape of the cable. Let's just say if you have to put on a connector, you don't want to have to manipulate the metal because some cables, the conductor inside can be tough to work with, especially if it's stranded or even solid. You don't want to damage the conductor because you can make it brittle or you can make it hard to get into the connector you need to put it in. So these were great at making a nice cylindrical cut on the cable, so that way you don't have to worry about doing extra work when you're putting on your connectors. So cable cutters, and also you could use these for other things, but mainly they're cable cutters for a reason, for cables. These guys right here are called flush cutters. I would say for your basic homeowner, this would be great if you have zip ties at home. And let's just say you put up some LED lights and you use some zip ties to anchor them on some things. But let's just say you didn't have a means of cutting the zip ties nice and flush. I've seen guys cut their hands on zip ties, because they weren't paying attention. And then next thing you know, they got a nice size cut on their hand. Sometimes it's shallow, but you never know. These cut nice and flush. So that way you don't have to worry about it. For my telecom guys and even my electricians, when you are done breaking out your stranded cabling and you need to clean up the excess cabling, this guy works great. Now, mind you, this all depends on the gauge of cable. So when you're working on Ethernet, for my telecom guys, when you put in a new jack, this is what you can use to cut it off, and it'll be nice and flush to the connector and or the jack. So that way, not only does it make your work look clean, but you run a lower risk of shorting out any of your conductors on something else. Okay. This guy right here is called a nail puller. All right, literally a nail puller. This is your friend. You can use that either to pull it out, right? You just grab around the nail and then you squeeze and then you pull the nail out, or you can use it to cut the nail. And literally just put enough pressure and it will bite into the nail until it breaks the nail. This uses that same bite action on pulling out even your regular shiny D nails, your penny nails. It bites into the nail and then you can pull the nail out. Like I said, this depends on how much pressure, just like any of these depend on how much pressure you put into your hold on the tool. So if you don't grip tightly, it's not going to hold tightly. But if you grip too tight, it might grip too tight, and in this case, it will actually break the nail and cause you maybe more of a headache. So you gotta, at this point, you gauge it, and then the more you use it, the more you understand. So just keep that in mind. This guy right here, locking pliers. Okay, these pliers are great as an additional hand. They're nice and thick, where it's robust, so you don't have to worry about them being too fragile and breaking easily. But also they're great because they can hold on tight to a material. This adjustment screw on the back will let you adjust literally the jaws of this plier to multiple different size materials. And when you lock it in place, you hear that click? It ain't coming out. Now you can, just like any other plier, you can overturn it and then it will not lock in place. When it's not locked in place, it is not holding anything. It'll come right out. So always make sure that the adjustment screw is set right where it's tight on the material. If it's too loose, just like anything, it will lock in place, but it won't hold anything. So always make sure that you're being mindful of this. This can work great when you need something held in place because you need something that feels like a vice grip. That's another tool altogether, another video. It holds the same way, except it works like a lever. So this would be your friend when it comes to those things. This also is like a locking, just like any other plier, a locking plier as well, like this one, and it does everything else like every other plier in terms of needing your grip to close it up nice. Thing about this is mainly for sheet metal. So if you're going into metal work and you need something to either manipulate or hold the metal or anything like that, this will probably be your friend in holding things together and putting or manipulating the metal any which way you need to. This guy right here. And the same thing, you can't over adjust and you can't under adjust the screw. So just make sure you keep that in mind when you're working with this. This guy right here, remember how I said that a lot of pliers rely on your grip strength? This is one of those. This is a crimper, okay? This also has a wire stripping feature as well. But this crimper right here relies on your grip strength when you're crimping down on certain connector types for certain cabling. So depending on how much strength you put in, that's how strong that connector is going to hold on, because it all depends on how you use this crimper when you're tightening down. How much force you put in, that'll determine it. Like I said, just like anything else, you can overdo it on whatever it is you're working on. It could damage either the crimper or you can damage the connector that you're working on, and then you have to start all over. So just keep that in mind. The nice thing about this guy right here, this is also a crimper. This has a ratcheting feature. You may hear some clicks, all right, that lock in place as you move, as you squeeze it. So that means if, let's just say your forearms are fatigued and you can't squeeze anymore, well, it will lock it in place until you're able to squeeze it all the way. Now, is there a way that you can disengage the ratchet? Yes, there is a feature that you can disengage the ratchet. It doesn't mean, though, that you cannot disengage the ratchet by just simply completing the ratcheting function, because it does this. It will shoot right out, okay? Oh, that reminds me. Speaking of shooting right out, when it comes to these vice grips, if you're not careful and you're too tight on the material that you have a grip on, like for now, okay, this one got a little tight. If you're too tight on it and it has a death grip on it, you clamp that thing down and it's holding, and you finish doing what you need to do. Now you need to get this thing off. Sometimes you can't get it off with just your regular strength. Sometimes you might have to tap it. You might have to hit it with something to do that. I would say this: stay clear, because sometimes, depending on where these things are, when that release lever kicks out, like this one actually has it. When that release lever kicks out, the force that this thing will come out and could come at you with could hurt you. So please keep that in mind. It could hurt your hands. It could fly up to your face. It could do a lot of things. All depends on where it is. So please keep that in mind when you're working with these, okay? Now, those are the pliers.